Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome once again to another episode, another session. And you know what it is, Coach Steele's Finance Training. Happy to have everybody tuning in on today. We have another awesome topic to discuss today. And it's a topic that maybe some people around the country are dealing with, whether it's handling and dealing with furloughs because of what's going on with the government, or it might be as simply as you're job hunting, you're looking for a job, you may have gotten laid off. But on today, we're talking about, how do you handle a work furlough? How do you handle that? What are some of the basic strategies? What are some things you can do to help yourself make it through that process? So on today here on Coach Steele's Finance Training, I look forward to diving into this topic. So as usual, make sure you share this live and welcome to Coach Steele's Finance Training. Let's get this party started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, you're here on Coach Steele's Finance Training. I am Coach Steele. I am your host on today. So let's see if we can get some music going. All right, turn that down a little. Boom. So when we talk about today dealing with a work furlough, does anybody know what furlough is? What a furlough is? In that comment section, tell me what a work furlough is. What is that? What are we talking about on today? And is there anyone that ever had to deal with a furlough? Let's see what we got here. All right. Good morning to my lovely wife, Yvette Steele. Thank you for tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training. All right. Like I told you all earlier, we're dealing with handling a work furlough. A lot of people are getting furloughed from their job. So when we look up furlough, what does it mean to be furloughed? The definition of furlough. And like I said, here at Coach Steele's Finance Training, I love doing research, homework. We talk about all things financial literacy so that people can grow, so that we can grow together financially. One thing I thought about this morning was how many communities out there, how many people out there, families, communities, groups, cultures, how and their families and throughout history had a shortage of financial literacy. And as a result, they found themselves behind the power curve. And so that's why it's important we have these conversations, because there's too many times where we've seen people not have a strong background or understanding of financial literacy, and it has affected their family, their loved ones, a whole culture of people because they just didn't know any better. And so when we deal with how to handle a work furlough, for those of you that may be dealing with it on today, some of you may, many of you may not, but you might be able to give some other people some advice on how they handle this furlough time period. And you never know, even though you're not the one being furloughed, you don't know how it may affect you, how it may affect your neighbors, whether or not they have to make adjustments, whether they have to move, whether they can pay their mortgage or their rent, and how all of that indirectly affects you and your local community as well. And so for every action, there's a something opposite and equal reaction. So just keep that in mind as we go through that on today. So number one, what I want to tell you all today is with handling a work furlough, you need to prioritize essential expenses. Focus on your four walls first. Does anybody know what those four walls are? Those four necessary, what I call needs. Does anybody know what those four categories are when we talk about needs? Those essentials that the basic person, no matter where you are, these are the four priorities. In that comment section, you can write down what those four things are. So if you're dealing with work furloughs or if you're dealing with being laid off, we're going to go into some different areas of things you should think about on today that will help you manage and maintain yourself during that process. Good morning to you, Miss Cody. Happy to have you tuning in as well to Coach Finance Trainer. We're talking about creative and strategic things we can do. Some of the things that we can do during a work furlough, boom, I think Mr. Tony Sherman hit a majority of them right on the head. And matter of fact, I'll go ahead because he's there. But what I want to tell you all on today is some of the things we talk about in Coach Steele's Finance Training every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone, are going to be some of the answers to how to handle this work furlough. And I'll be able to go a little bit deeper so that you all can understand, especially when we get to some of the creative things to do during a furlough, finding work, finding extra things you can do to bring in income, the subject of passive income as well. So we got Tony Sherman. He says food, clothing, shelter, transportation. There's one other thing that you want to focus on during a furlough or a job loss, when you need to maintain yourself. There's one other thing. All right, you got shelter, but inside that shelter, your utilities are important. So those are the main things that you want to focus on is housing, food, transportation, and utilities. Those are all important. And of course, hopefully you already have some clothes. Hopefully you already have, something that you can wear during that time frame as well. So when we talk about the four main things, you want to make sure you take care of your housing, your food, which is groceries, basic meals, transportation, utilities, electric, with your electricity, water, gas, things like that. Now, one interesting thing that I would say on today is even how you handle the food during a furlough or any time, being strategic about trying to grow your wealth and being financially savvy. One thing you want to think about when we talk about handling a furlough, when it comes to the food, I would not only look for affordable meals, but also we want to look for meals that can stretch. We want to find meals that will last over a long period of time. And there are certain things that you can buy that aren't expensive, but it will help make a meal last. Did anybody know, and our parents and our ancestors did a great job of this, but they would come up with meals that could stretch. You could get up the next day and reheat that bad boy. And matter of fact, it tastes even better the next day. Does anybody know of some affordable meals that will stretch and can last longer? And to give you a hint, some of that stuff, you can cook in a big pot and it stretches. But what are some of your meals or things that you've cooked in the past? Maybe times are rough, or maybe you just like that food and it was able to last. And the reason why I have input here on Coach Steele's Finance Training is because as a community, as everyone inputs things that work for them or meals that they liked in this example, it gives someone else an idea of, oh, I didn't think of that. I can use that. And so sometimes you sharing will help someone else have success financially. And so that's some of the things that we need to think about is the four main things. But when you think about them, be strategic. Be strategic about the type of food that you buy from the store. Be strategic about the type of meals that you cook. One meal that will stretch and last. Let's see what we have here in the comment section. Oh, gumbo. So gumbo is one. Yvette says spaghetti. So that's what I was going to say. I was going to say spaghetti. And sometimes rice and beans. You don't have to make it complicated. Rice and beans stretch. And so you can put things in there, season it up, flavor it. You can take meat, put certain meat in there as well, sparingly as well. You can be very, very creative with using rice to make meals last. If you had to make a soup is another meal you can put in a big pot, stretches over a long period of time, easy to reheat. And you can get fancy with it. Be very creative. Look online for other meals that you can make stretch instead of going out to eat. when you're not sure when that next amount of money is going to come in. And so when you go out to eat, that may be a one-time meal. It might last the next day, possibly. But whenever you can cook something in a pot, oh yeah, you can cook a lot of it and make it stretch. So those are some of the things you want to think about. When it comes to a furlough and people temporarily being out of work, it's something that you have to take serious. It could be like mandatory time off. And so some people are possibly dealing with what we call a furlough. I think some people are actually still required to work, but may not get paid. So it can get a little crazy. And so you got to also make sure you take care of your mental health as well. And so when we talk about certain things to do during a furlough, one thing I want you all to keep in mind is what you are spending money on. We talk about the things that you need to spend money on, but make sure you don't spend money on things that you may not need. You have to be strategic depending on your situation. You may need to eliminate or pause non-essential subscriptions, dining out, entertainment. I just mentioned that. Don't spend money on things that you really don't need. And so I'll go ahead and get to number 2. Number 1, we talked about focusing on those 4 essential things, those needs that we need. Prioritize essential expenses. Number 2 is review and adjust your budget. That's something that everyone should do during a furlough or even when you're not in a furlough. Here on Coach Steele's Finance Training, we talk about that all the time. And I try to, hit this point home as much as I can, because if you truly want to grow wealth, this is something that you need to do during a furlough or not. But review and adjust your budget. Create a bare bones budget only of what you need to survive. Sometimes we have wants. And check this out. During a furlough, sometimes you may have to cut off your investing, where you're putting money. Sometimes you may be throwing money in savings. Sometimes you have to stop temporarily on those investments, whatever you have going into the stock market or crypto or whatever the case may be. Just put that on a pause for right now, just in case. You can always go back and put that money back in there. So review and adjust your budget and create a bare bones budget of just the basic things that you need. Some of those things that Tony Sherman put on here, those 4 basic items, keep that in mind. And so you want to track every expense to avoid overspending during a time like this. Track everything, all hands on deck. We need to know where the money is going. And as you're tuning in here on Coach Steele's Finance Training, and we're talking about how to handle a furlough if you're dealing with it, if you're temporary laid off. And honestly, this works for someone, even if you're not going in a furlough, but let's say right now, financially, you're having a hard time, then these are some good pointers for you to practice as well. And so if you have an emergency savings, a plan to use it strategically, cover all essentials first. Don't use your emergency savings on the things you want. Like, don't use your emergency savings, your money you put to the side, to pay for Netflix. It's an option. Netflix can come and go. Don't use your emergency savings on a new pair of shoes you just wanted to have during a furlough. No, hold off on some of those things. Those shoes will always be here. And so you don't use your emergency to be able to go to the movie theater. That is more of it's not a necessity. It's not something you need. So think about those things as you're managing and budgeting your money. You may just have certain financial goals you want to accomplish. And if you haven't hit those goals, you may want to hold out on doing some of those other things. Like I said, this just isn't for people dealing with the furlough. This stuff works for anyone. Like Yvette just said, you need to know what's coming in and what's going out. That's one of my favorite phrases when I talk about budgeting, because that's all it is. Okay, number 3 is pretty simple. When we get to number 3 on today on how to handle a furlough, and if you're tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training, You may be on Facebook, you might be on YouTube, you might be on TikTok. And so regardless of whether you're tuning in on today, the location, make sure you go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to Coach Steele's Finance Training. Hit that subscribe button for me. And so let's see what we have next. Number three. Number three is preserve cash. Delay large purchases unless absolutely necessary. Now, this is a no-brainer, guys. It's such a no-brainer that, you would think this is something that you shouldn't have to say, but, I'm not going to sit here and think that everyone knows. But you want to preserve cash and delay large purchases. If you're dealing with the job loss, if you're dealing with the furlough, if you're not sure whether or not you may be having a rough time at your job with your supervisors, things are a little shaky. Guess what? Use wisdom in these moments and preserve your cash and delay large purchases, especially the ones that are going to be a reoccurring expense. Yes, that are going to be what we call a chronic expense. And so reoccurring, chronic things that will come back up. I would even delay a large purchase even if I have the cash as well. So those are some of the things that you have to think about on today here on Coach Steele's Finance Training. I appreciate everybody for tuning in as we continue to go through a subject that maybe a lot of people aren't dealing with, but I still feel the need to be able to help people out during this time. And so I thought this subject would be profitable, a conversation to have. Whether you're dealing with it now or potentially this may be something that you have to deal with later on in the future. And so we can also deal with the pointers and the tips here that are going to show you and tell you what to do if you ever have to deal with it again. Now, one other important thing that everyone needs to do, whether you are dealing with the furlough or whether you're just trying to tighten up your budget, right, is negotiate the bills. Many lenders and service providers offer temporary payment plans or hardship assistance. And so avoid taking on new debt if possible and negotiate the current bills you have. Be able to allow those service providers to be sympathetic and empathetic to what you're dealing with in these moments. So when you're negotiating these deals, the bills, you might be able to negotiate when you have to pay them, or maybe they give you a month or two where you won't have to make a payment. Maybe they reduce the bill amount. Negotiate. They would rather have some money or rather you be consistent in some shape, form, or fashion as opposed to not at all. So don't be afraid to get on the phone, negotiate the deals. You may end up saving yourself an extra $100, $200 a month. And so that's something to think about. And I was talking to someone the other day, when we talk about how to handle these furloughs, I think who you bank with matters. In that comment section, if you got some free hands and you're not driving, in that comment section, just write who you bank with matters. It matters who you bank with. I think sometimes, I forgot that character on Star Wars, the little green character, the Jedi warrior, what's his name? I know I'm completely off topic, y'all, but sometimes I find myself talking like him. I say sentences backwards, but it means the same thing. Who you bank with matters. So that's something that you all need to think about. Someone told me during the furlough that I think it was a certain bank, and I don't want to say the wrong bank because someone will say that I said a bank and it didn't. But a certain bank, even though people may not be getting paid, that they're going to pay the people 90% of what they would have got paid. And when they finally do get paid, then they'll take their portion back. So they're helping out their customers, their clients, by giving them 90% of their paycheck, even if they don't get paid. And so that may be something you want to think about, because when they told me that a certain bank was doing that and other banks might not, then quite naturally, during a time like this, I'm probably going to move my money to the bank that can potentially pay me. So as we're dealing with the furlough and we're giving each other helpful and friendly tips along the way, just keep that in mind. You might want to check with certain banks to see if they can still help you out during that furlough time frame to still get your paycheck. Number 4 is manage debt wisely. I really, really love this point as you're dealing with the furlough, as you're dealing with the job loss. Even if you're just having financial problems or trying to manage your budget and eliminate debt, but you're living paycheck to paycheck. See, sometimes people handle eliminating debt the wrong way. They're all over the place with eliminating debt and they have no strategy. So whether you're in a furlough or not, you must understand sometimes this point that I'm coming on here with is manage debt wisely, especially if there's a shortage of income. Remember, this is important. Make minimum monthly payments on each debt. I know. You're trying to hurry up and get rid of that credit card bill. You're trying to hurry up and pay that car off. You want to hurry up and pay the house off, right? But keep in mind, if there's a shortage of income, if you're paycheck to paycheck and you overpay on a debt, then you come up short somewhere else. You may end up messing up your credit. So during this furlough, try to manage by just doing the minimum monthly payments on these debts, just enough to have that freed up cash flow. And when you have freed up cash flow during a furlough, don't rush to spend it. Just keep it to the side. All of those extra payments and the extra you wanted to put on certain bills, after you make it through the furlough, you can always take that money and eventually throw it on that debt. So keep that in mind as well, to free up cash flow and have an emergency fund in case things potentially get worse. I'm all for eliminating debt as fast as you can and as fast as you want, but remember to be strategic in the process so you don't essentially shoot yourself in the foot at the same time. So remember that we have to manage debt wisely. And once again, make sure you find the right bank. And so be strategic. Don't be afraid to contact lenders or credit card companies to request certain things. Maybe reduce your payment. Be very careful if you ask for deferments, how that will affect you long term, especially with your mortgage. Depending on what other investment moves that you want to make later on, it may have certain negative results where you can't make certain financial moves because you did a deferment or something. So keep that in mind depending on what career field you're in. And like I said, focus on minimum payments during the furlough period to maintain your credit standings. All right, number 5. This is one that I love. Point number 5, and we're moving pretty quick today here on Coach Steele's Finance Training. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right. And the YouTube channel, if you're listening on TikTok, my YouTube channel is Coach Steele's, Steeles, Coach Steele's Finance Training. Next, number 5, if you are dealing with a furlough, I need you all to get to it. I need you to be creative, seek temporary income streams. Don't be ashamed. Do what you have to do. I don't care if it is Uber. I got a young man who used to Uber, and now he's going to school for free because he Ubered for, I think, like 3 years. Now he's getting a free education. They're paying for it. So never look at things, whether it's Uber, whether it's janitorial services, whether you're going to go help somebody clean a building later on in the evening. If you have that free time, whether it's washing windows, cutting grass, landscaping, raking leaves. You know, a lot of leaves are falling right now. You never know. Washing boats, washing cars, babysitting, you name it. Get to it. Get that extra money. Be creative and seek temporary income streams. You need to do that in this season. Get you that extra money. If things get back on track and you don't end up missing a beat in that furlough, but you made an extra couple $100s on the side, great. Take that money, throw it into the stock market, or take that money, knock out and eliminate some type of debt that you were trying to get rid of, or invest it. You know, you all here on Coach Steele's Finance Training, where I talk about investing in dividend stocks. So you may want to go buy some dividend stocks with that extra money if you don't need it. But seek temporary income streams. That's why here on Coach Steele's Finance Training, I'm always talking about how can you make some passive income? How can you be creative to make some more money? And so when you create businesses, you create opportunities for yourself, you provide a service, um, it can go very, very well for you. So keep that in mind. Use your skills to earn extra money during the downtime, freelance, gig work, delivery, writing, tutoring. You might do stand-up comedy. The club may pay you some money. Do some stand-up comedy. Sell unused items online. That's something that I would probably do, whether I do it online or if I got some extra stuff at the house that I don't need, it's been sitting around forever. I'm about to make all of those liabilities become an asset because I'm getting off of them, especially if I don't need them. I can use that money for gas, for transportation, for groceries, whatever the case may be. So keep that in mind. Sell unused items that you don't need online or do an old-fashioned yard sale. Offer services like lawn care, babysitting, online tutoring. Explore short-term or remote jobs. Do what you have to do to bring in some extra money. It's just that simple. All right, let's go a little bit further as we touched on that subject. Number six. Number six requires that you do not have too much pride during a furlough or being laid off from work, or if you got fired, whatever the case may be. You need to go file for assistance promptly. Don't waste any time. Go file for assistance just in case. You may not even need it, but at least you filed for it. So if you get it, great. But if you don't get it, then that's fine too if you don't need it. But at least go file for assistance properly. And so I got about 8 pointers for you all today, and we're moving pretty quick through it. And so we got about 2 more to go. And if you're tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training, make sure you share the live. You never know who else you might be helping out by sharing the live, talking about financial literacy here on Coach Steele's Finance Training. We talk about all things financial literacy. Why? Because we want to make sure that our community is talking about this subject matter, because this is a game changer. And where I'm at, there's a lot of military people, military town, government workers, and things like this. So this can directly affect the community and the success of local business and small business. Like I said, you may not be going through the furlough, but it can have indirect effects on you. And so you want to apply for unemployment benefits or furlough pay if your employer offers it, and check for government relief programs, food assistance, rental help, whatever it is. Explore all options. Leave no stone unturned. Be very, very creative during this season so that you can have success. You don't have to stop trying to reach your financial goals. We just have to be strategic on how we still get there. You can still get to the finish line even though you hit some bumps in the road. All right. One of my favorite subjects, and I think this is very, very important during this time. If you get laid off from work, if you're dealing with a furlough, if you get fired, if you're not getting paid enough, use your time productively. Well, I'll say be productive with your time. In other words, find creative ways to make some passive income. So I would tell you all, use your time wisely. If you get laid off from work, if you have a furlough, whatever the case may be, whenever you have free time, I don't care if you're working and you're on your lunch break, but you don't make enough, use your time wisely. Start being creative. Get a pen and a pad, something to write with. Take notes. Start writing out your thoughts, your ideas on things that you can do to make money, whether you're clocking in or whether you're not. Don't be afraid while you're during a furlough or you get laid off to do some creative things. And you all should start thinking about it. What are some creative things that you can do to help yourself make some more money while you're potentially being laid off or during a furlough? Learn new skills or get a certification that can increase your earning potential later. Update your resume on LinkedIn. Explore passive income opportunities or small side businesses. These are some of the things that you all need to think about. How can I make some extra money? Because if you're dealing with the furlough, if you're being laid off, if you're being underpaid, how can you make some more money so that it balances all of that out? So when life or tragic events happen, it doesn't just throw you off financially. You have to start being strategic. Everyone tuning in to Coach Steele's finance training consistently, you know I love real estate investing. Why? Because I like to buy long-term rentals, long-term rentals where I'm holding that property, the tenant is paying me rent, and it's consistent, expected passive income, or what we call income without me having to necessarily clock in or physically be there all the time to make some extra money. So if you have that coming in and then something happens with your job, you have something to balance out everything. And so be strategic, start studying the market, start studying different asset classes. Where can I put my money where I can get paid without having to clock in? Guys, there are so many creative options with doing that. There are private institutions where you can lend them your money and they will pay you interest monthly. There are dividend stocks so that you can invest in on your own. And those dividend stocks can pay out monthly or quarterly. Do your own research and figure out, how do I make this extra money without having to clock in? And so that's why it's important you subscribe to Coach Steele's finance training, because these are the things that we talk about all the time. Exploring creative ways, how to make passive income, how to create side businesses, small businesses. What can we do to grow ourselves financially so we're not dependent on a system, but we're more so dependent on ourselves? I was talking to someone last night. I was having dinner, and we were talking about people growing their own business, having their own, and not only being dependent on your job, but creating something for yourself on the side that may potentially eventually allow you to leave your job if that's what you wanted to do. I believe in doing both. If you can, use your job to help grow your business so that you can hit your financial freedom date. And so if you don't know what a financial freedom date or financial freedom number is, make sure you go to Coach Steele's finance training, subscribe. Those are the last two subjects we talked about on the last two sessions. When you go to the YouTube channel, click the live tab and you'll see all of those videos that you missed. Now, when it comes to these businesses and why people don't go into investing more for themselves, I believe sometimes people struggle with trusting themselves. People struggle with putting themselves in position to have to be responsible for themselves. And so I want to hear your thoughts and your comments. Have you ever thought about going into business for yourself, becoming an entrepreneur, doing more investing? What is hindering you? What is stopping you? Some people, it is they don't trust themselves enough. They'll figure out and be more pessimistic than optimistic. They'll start thinking about all the reasons as to why they shouldn't or why they feel they can't do it, as opposed to thinking about all the reasons why they should do it and why they can do it. There was a gentleman, I believe his name's Henry Ford. I could be wrong, but I believe his name's Henry Ford. He has a quote. He says, if people believe they can or they believe they can't, they're right. If you believe you can or if you believe you can't, you're right. And so you have to understand that there's power in the words that we speak, and you have to have confidence in yourself to step out and try something new, try something different. What do you have to lose? I remember in the Bible, it talked about some lepers sitting outside of a city, and they finally realized, they came to themselves and said, what do we have to lose? Let's go in the city. And so they took action and they did it. And they had good success because they quit being pessimistic and they were optimistic. They realized there's no harm in trying. So Tony Sherman says volatile market. Okay, so with the market, if you're worried about the market being volatile, Tony Sherman, then you can just DCA. You could dollar cost average if you're looking to be wise about investing in the market. So some people don't want to invest in the stock market because it is volatile. And because of that, it's probably wise just to DCA, dollar cost average. I've showed you all here on Coach Steele's finance training how I dollar cost average, just to give people an example of why it makes sense to DCA. And so let me see if I can give a quick example here of the benefit of DCAing with the volatile market. Let me make sure I'm still logged in here. Okay, I am. And I'll give a quick example. We are on. Let me share some of my business. Y'all seen this a few times here on Coach Steele's finance training, so you should be very familiar with it. And so, to make a long story short, I tell you all about dividend stocks, right? And how I invested in dividend stocks back in 2019, towards the end of 2018, beginning of 2019. And all I did was start taking like $25 a month. Let me see if I can help my TikTok audience out. I don't think I can turn my screen around for y'all. So all I started doing was investing $25 a month. If you're tuning in on TikTok, if you go to the YouTube channel, you can see what I'm showing them on the screen. Coach Steele's finance training. So what you see right here, let me move Tony Sherman's comment out the way, is the experimental of dollar cost averaging that Coach Steele's finance training is doing. And I did it with dividend stocks, right? So with the dividend stocks, the balance right now is $6,407.65. Some of you are saying, oh, that's not much. It's just an example of the benefit of dollar cost averaging. I did $25 a month in this scenario. And so that's what you see right here is $25 a month. And I've done it for 2019 to 2025. And because of this, I have, you see there's $2,602 of profit for me from doing this. Right here in that pie chart that you see right there, I'm up $2,602.30. Now, what is my point? What am I trying to tell you here? I did not try to fight with the market, buy, sell real quick, day trade, anything. I just did the same amount for these past few years, $25 a month, and I am up $2,600 and I invested $6,400. So what's the difference there? Some of this money, let's see, $3,800 of it is my money, and $2,602 of it is what I've grown from dividend stocks and increase in value of those stocks as well, the growth. And so dollar cost averaging is probably one of the better strategies. Even when you look at my chart there, you see it starts low and it has been building up. You have a few small dips, but I dollar cost average over a period of time. And now because I dollar cost average over a period of time, my dividend stock portfolio is profitable. It's having success. And I still just put $25 in there a month to show people it doesn't take much to start investing. And you all have seen this before. Basically, I did some dividend stocks in here. And of course, you see some of them right there. Let's see if I can get those in the screen as well. Apple, Johnson & Johnson, Exxon, Realty, Walmart, just different companies that have been here for a long period of time that have stood the test of time. Coca-Cola, y'all see them right here. Dividend stocks. Let's see what else we got. Now, there is one company that doesn't do dividend stocks, but I knew it's a likelihood that their company would grow. And of course, you got to do your own research, right? And you got to do your own homework. This site that I'm on, they allow me to just do like a gumbo of different stocks, make a pie chart, figure out how much of the $25 I want going to each area, all that good stuff. And like SoFi, they don't do dividends, but I know that bank probably is having a lot of good growth right now. And because of that, I just added them into the portfolio for my portfolio to continue to grow. But anyway, My whole point is dollar cost average. And because I dollar cost average, I've seen growth. And so it's the same amount every month, no matter what, and just do it in a safe place. The S&P 500, the average annual rate of growth is like 10% uh, every year for the past, I don't know, 20 plus years or something like that. And then let's see what we have. Natalie saying, I think marketing is my issue. When you say marketing is your issue, oh, with doing your own business, entrepreneurship, and how to market it. Mm, so it might be your issue. And so you have to figure out, do research homework. How do I get over that? And sometimes marketing isn't the issue, Natalie. The issue for some people is patience, having patience to grow a business. So when we look up how long or how long does it take on average to have a profitable business, if you look that up, it's going to tell you it takes about 3 to 5 years on average to grow a business. In other words, not start a business. Anybody can start a business right now. I can come up with a business idea and get started now. But for the business to be profitable and cash flowing consistently, it usually takes about 3 to 5 years. And so most people want it to be successful in 6 months and don't realize the first 6 months, the business is still a baby. The business is still 6 months old. The business is still learning how to, is still getting its diaper changed. You know, your business, when it's 2 years old, is going through terrible twos. No. It's not always being productive. And so you have to wait 3 to 5 years on average. Is there exceptions to the rule? Yes, there can be exceptions. But if you get in your mind, I got to work this thing for the next 5 years for it to be where I want it to be, then you won't panic. You'll continue to market. You'll continue to be smooth. So, like, it may not be that you're marketing wrong. It's just that you're not marketing long. Oh, I like that right there. You're not marketing wrong. You're not marketing long enough to be consistent. So keep that in mind as well. So when you're looking for work, when you're out of work, when you're being furloughed, if you got something going on, I don't care what it is. Like I said, cutting grass, mowing lawns, doing hair, you name it, making t-shirts, make sure you keep pushing that. Even when your job is going well, keep pushing your side business, keep pushing that entrepreneurship, keep pushing investments and things like that that will hold you over. And so this is good conversation on today as y'all are tuning in to Coach Steele's finance training on how to be successful during a furlough and what financial moves you can make. Some of you were jumped in a little late, so you missed some of the different steps that we went through. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the last step right now, which is number 8 to wrap it up. And so as you all are tuning in to Coach Steele's finance training, if you have questions, if you have thoughts, concerns, feel free to type them in the comment section or in the chat section on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way we can continue to build up that YouTube community. Number 8 is rebuild financial safety once back at work. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, let that moment be a lesson to you. In other words, learn from what just happened and don't allow yourself to be in that position again. Some of you will have done a great job and you build up an emergency fund, and during the furlough or during the layoff, you had to go through it. You may have had to deplete it. You may have had to use half of it. But when you get back on track, go ahead and start planning for the next event. So instead of rushing to go buy some doodads and some other stuff that you don't need, what we want to do when we get back on track and we get back in that workflow, we get that business going, Natalie, let's replenish that savings that we had to use. Some people, it's scary for them right now because they are literally using credit cards to survive off of because they feel like they don't have savings. They don't have any emergency. They don't have any financial assistance, which is why I'm telling you all, don't let pride get in the way. Go apply for whatever financial assistance you can get from local community, from the government. Check with your local church ministry. That's why it's always good to sow into your local ministry, your local church, whether some people call it charity, tithes, offering, because you never know when you may have to go back to that well. And at least if you put something in the well, it's a good feeling if you have to go back and you need something. Some ministries have local food banks, clothing banks as well that you can have access to. So these are some of the things I want you all to think about, but rebuild everything back. That's when you can rebuild your emergency fund back. Once you get that emergency fund built back up, ladies and gentlemen, now we can go back to not making minimum monthly payments on debt. If we had debt, pay those credit cards back down, make those extra payments, get back on track with other things that you may have had to put in deferment or delay, things like that. And then also now you can eventually get back to investing again, to prep yourself to continue to create generational wealth, to continue to leave a legacy, to continue to grow your wealth so that you can live comfortably as well. We want to rebuild our financial safety, but there's steps and there's a flow and an order to doing that. And I want you all to keep that in mind along the way. Let's see what else we have here. And, during a furlough, normally I'll show you all my shirts that I'm selling on my website, Coach Steele's Finance Training, where I also offer financial coaching as well. But during a furlough, if you're struggling, don't buy a Coach Steele's Finance Training shirt. Wait till it's over with, you back on track. Replenish your emergency fund. Continue to live below your means for a while to build your financial cushion. Diversify your income so you're better protected when it happens again. And so I'm very big on diversifying your income, diversify your investment portfolio. These are some of the things you should think about. If you have some more thoughts, some comments, concerns, feel free to write them in the comment section as we continue to talk about these things on today. Let's see, we have here, Mr. Tony Sherman has a testimony for everybody on today. He said, update, HELOC repaid after paying off car. He bought the car in January 2025, and it is completely paid off now. And so Tony Sherman is talking about a system and a strategy that I was able to work with him and show him how to use over a period of time, how to use the HELOC strategy to be debt-free, how to pay off your mortgage, consumer debt, car notes, credit cards, personal loans, student loans, you name it. And so when it comes to all of that stuff with your mortgage, how to use that HELOC strategy to become debt-free faster. Some people don't know about it. Some people aren't educated about it. And so therefore they're intimidated. But when you get the right education and information, you become confident in it. And so for Tony Sherman, not only did he use it for his mortgage, but now he's able to be creative and use that same system and strategy to pay cars off faster. So he doesn't have to have a 3 to 5 year car note. No, he's done with it. He bought it in January and now it's October. It's a wrap. It's done. So now his cash flow's freed up and he can duplicate this process as much as he wants. And so when you do something like that, he didn't have to go get a credit check. He already had the line of credit to fund it himself. And so sometimes you can be creative in what you do and when you learn new systems. And so if he can do this to eliminate debt, there's also other systems in place that allow you to check this out, Tony Sherman. If I can eliminate debt fast through using certain banking tools and strategies, then I can also grow wealth faster using these same systems. I want you all to catch that real quick. And so I want you to really catch that. If I can eliminate debt fast using certain tools that the banks give me access to, then the same way I can eliminate debt fast, I can also grow wealth fast as well. Using the same tools, same systems, same strategies, same principles. It all works hand in hand. And that's the beauty of being a part of Coach Steele's Finance Training, is as we get to these different subjects, you're going to get some game that you never would have gotten before in other environments, because they don't teach this at school. They don't teach this at the universities. You may not hear this in your house. I like using creative strategies and systems financially to help grow wealth and to have financial success. And so certain institutions aren't going to teach you this, because if they did, the banks would lose billions and billions of dollars. Because if they keep you on a 30-year mortgage, they win. Now, let's go a little bit further on today. Like I said, I want you all to replenish once you get out of that rut. Once you get out of that hole, make sure you replenish your emergency fund and get everything back on track on today. If you all are tuning in late, we're talking about how you handle a work furlough. How do you handle being laid off? How do you handle losing your job or not getting paid enough? Some of the things we can do to get ourselves on track. I love diversifying my portfolio. I have a small little in crypto. I have a small little bit, as you all see, when I invest in the stock market. I also love investing in real estate. That's another part of my portfolio. And I like doing 3 to 5 year uh, more amortized notes as well. That's something else that I like investing in. Of course, high yield interest savings account for emergency fund as well. You can diversify your portfolio as much as you want. Another way that you can invest is you be the lender. If you see an entrepreneur, business owner, and they need lending, they need capital, and you want to be the lender and not the borrower, you can do a contract, write it up, lend out money, and negotiate the terms of the agreement. Negotiate how much interest you want to receive over a period of time. Do you want to make your money back with interest in 1 year? Do you want to make that money back with interest over a period of 3 to 5 years? There's so many creative things that you can do. And so I'll give you an example quickly. If you lend money out and you're not sure how you want to profit, let's see here. I'll show you an amortized calculator. Sometimes this is something that I would use. So as you all see there, it says loan amount 9,000. I'm going to change those numbers. Let's say someone needs $15,000. Let's go 10,000. Let's say they need a $10,000 loan from you, and you want them to pay that loan back in 3 years. And let's say you're charging 8% interest. And you see how I just plugged that into this amortized loan calculator? If y'all are tuning in on TikTok, if you go to Coach Steele's finance training, you'll be able to see the demonstration that I'm showing them. If you go on YouTube, Coach Steele's finance training, you'll see the demo. So when you hit calculate, what it's showing you here is that person, and let me make sure that you all can see that. Boom. All right, you all can see it. That person, monthly payment, they're going to pay you $313.36 for the next 3 years to pay back that $10,000 at 8% interest. Now, of course, you see right here in the middle of the page, it says total of 36 months payment. The total will end up being, you'll get is $11,281.09. So total interest was $1,281.09. So you can use this amortized calculator to kind of determine what you prefer. Well, maybe I want to charge 12%, and the person may be happy to do that. So now instead of 313, you're making 332. You may not want to wait 3 years. You might only want to do 2 years. So then guess what? 2 years at 8%, as you all see me doing this, you can negotiate that range. All right. So now I'm making 442. Total interest is 854. Now I'm getting back $10,854. And so if you decide to be the lender and loan and do some private lending out to entrepreneurs, investors, and they have a good business plan, good business strategy, you've done the paperwork, you've done your due diligence, and it makes sense, you can use something like this to help you with your decision making. Guys, all of these are creative strategies and options to create passive income for you to come in, whether it's for the next 2 years, the next 3 years, the next 5 years. If you were to do that multiple times and you're doing lending like that, using the amortized calculator, that one deal might have made you $400 or $300 a month. But what if you continue to duplicate that process over an extended period of time? Another person and another person, whether you do 3 years, whether you do 5 years. I like to do 3 to 5 years. Sometimes I'll do the 2 years, right? There are big businesses that are worth millions of dollars, and it doesn't even have to be one-on-one with the local person, small business, entrepreneur. Big businesses will take your money, big investors, companies, and they will still pay you out the same thing as well. And so after you do your homework, you'll find these places. If you duplicate that process multiple times, instead of making $300 a month from one entity, now you'll do it again There's another 300 a month. Now you're getting 600 a month in passive income, and you didn't lift a finger. Now you duplicate that process in a couple more months because you have a tool to be able to lend and pay back yourself quicker, or you have that extra money sitting to the side, not making much interest at all. You do it again, or whether it's a higher amount, now 300, let's say now you're making 400. Now that's an extra $1,000 a month. If you're in the middle of a furlough, being laid off, but you have invested and diversified your money into different asset classes, or lending it out lending out into amortized notes, you got money coming in during rough patches, during a hard time. There are so many creative things that you all can do financially that you may not have thought of, but you have to be willing to be creative. You have to open up your mind and be able to understand that you may not know everything. Guys, I've enjoyed you all on today. Maybe 2 weeks ago, I spoke at a conference called Tied to Success. Some young men ages 12 to 18 years old, talking to them about financial literacy. I was able to go to a local middle school, Lewis Fraser Middle School, and talk to the parents and children about making strategic financial moves and educating them on financial literacy and the importance of it. And so I have a podcast that I just did last week, but it will air when it gets ready to air. I will let you all know I was invited to a podcast to talk about financial literacy. And next month, I am scheduled to talk to some more young people in the community on a specific evening. When I get more details, I'll let you all know about it so you can come out and enjoy that as well. And so stay tuned, Coach Steele's Finance Trainer. We're taking the show on the road and we're having fun educating people. And if you need someone to come speak at an engagement, go to my website, and you go to my website, and that way you can book that speaking engagement, and I can come motivate the masses, talk to your organization, your team, your crew about different financial literacy subjects. Just let me know what you want it tailored around, and I'll do my best to accommodate as well. Guys, the YouTube channel is growing, and actually it's time to do another giveaway. So every time we hit another milestone on the YouTube channel, another 100 subscribers, we do a giveaway. I try to give away like $20 to $25 to $50. Sometimes we break it up so we can have multiple people. And so I think it's awesome time to do a giveaway during a furlough. There's always requirements for the giveaway, so I'll go ahead and let you all know. So we hit another milestone as far as the number of subscribers we have. And so because of that, we have another 100 subscribers added on. We are going to do probably a $25 to $50 giveaway. But if you want to be in the drawing, you have to email me. And of course, you see my email down there at the bottom of the ticker. The requirement is always send me an email. And the email is coachsteelefinance@gmail.com. And in that email, you need to be able to put a title of one of the sessions we've had here on a Saturday morning. And that's not difficult because you can use this title, or you can go through the live tab and write in one of the titles of one of the previous videos. No matter what video it is, write the title in the email that you email me, and also make sure you're a subscriber. So those are the two requirements. Make sure you're a subscriber and email me, coachsteelefinance@gmail.com. And in that email, have one of the titles of one of the videos. And I put you in the drawing. And of course, I'm going to give you all some time. So I'll announce it again, and then we'll do the drawing and we'll see who wins the money. And so as Coach Steele's Finance Training grows, we like to celebrate it together as a community. And so we always do that giveaway, and it's that time. Once again, appreciate everybody for tuning in. If I missed a comment or something you said, or you didn't have opportunity to write something down that you wanted me to study, read, or talk about, just shoot me an email, coachsteelefinance@gmail.com, and we can talk about it there, and I can help you out as well. Any questions, comments, concern? If not, we are adjourned for today. You all have an awesome day. Y'all been on here with me for 1 hour. We made it. Give yourself a round of applause or a pat on the back. Y'all have a blessed day. Coach Steele.